Hello, my name is Ojos, and my groupmate's name is Bethel. And in this video, we will be covering a variety of topics. Social psychology plays a major role in our day-to-day lives, even when we don't realize it. This video's goal is to explain more about how the world is shaped by the various lessons we've learned during our Psych 231 class, beginning from social cognition to competition and cooperation. Throughout the semester, we've learned how our thoughts, behaviors, and decisions are constantly shaped by the people and environment around us. Even though we've covered so many of these interesting concepts, we've had to limit ourselves to only 3 units from the class to describe in our final project. So, for our final project, we've chosen to explore 3 specific social psychology concepts: cognitive dissonance, the bystander effect, and conformity. These unique topics are all very different, but can also be connected. We will cover this more in our project. We will first explain what each concept means, share a real-world example, as well as talk about personal experiences, which can help you better understand each concept.
Let's start with the first concept, cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the uncomfortable feeling someone experiences when they feel like their actions go against their beliefs or values, like when someone who genuinely cares about being honest has to tell a lie about something. There are numerous examples that we can use, but let's come back to that. According to Dr. Rajiv Jangiani and Dr. Hemant Terry, in Principles of Social Psychology, people try to reduce this discomfort by justifying their behavior or changing their beliefs. This probably sounds familiar because it's something people do unconsciously without doing much thinking. This is something that likely every last one of us has felt before. For example, there have been times that I got angry or yelled at a friend without thinking after an intense argument. After I calm down, I tend to apologize since I value being a good friend and hate taking my anger out on others. Another example could be something many college students face on the daily, like getting a bad grade on an exam and having to recalculate their entire expectations for their grade. A strong example of cognitive dissonance happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many people who identified as pro-science were hesitant in getting the vaccine. According to the 2023 article published in the National Library of Medicine, COVID-19 risk perception, cognitive dissonance, and vaccine hesitancy, people reduced this dissonance by rationalizing their decision. For example, they might have downplayed the risks of COVID or focused more on the side effects of the vaccine instead of the broader science. This was interesting since these people had previously advocated for science-based decision-making, but in this case, the emotional fear of the side effects or distrust for the institutions had led them to changing their decision. These are only a few examples of cognitive dissonance, but there's many more.
Now let's move on to the second concept, bystander effect. The bystander effect is when people are less likely to help someone in need if there are other people around. Humans tend to assume that someone else will step in, which often leads to no one doing anything at all. As explained by Jianji and Terry, the presence of others diffuses responsibility, making individuals feel less pressured to act. This is yet another phenomenon that most of us have likely participated in more than once. For example, there have been times that one of my classmates was left out during group assignments, but no one, including me, stepped up. And in retrospect, I just assumed that they joined someone else's group, and that's likely what most of the other students were thinking as well. The bystander effect can lead to people not doing anything, even if someone was getting assaulted right in front of them. And although this sounds like exaggeration, it's not. This was unfortunately proven true in 2021 on a train in Philadelphia where a woman was sexually assaulted as passengers simply stood by without helping. According to a CNN report published in 2021, by Tekin Adon, not only did the bystanders not intervene, they didn't even call the police. This tragic example shows how influential the bystander effect can be in real life. Everyone saw what was happening, but simply assumed that someone else would act. Sadly, no one else did. This case emphasizes the importance of taking personal responsibility, since relying on someone else to step in can often lead to inaction. I recall that back in elementary school, we'd always hear teachers or adults say things like, if you see something, say something, or stand up to bully, or even say no to bullying. But honestly, even if I saw someone getting bullied, I'd very rarely step in. I usually just assumed that someone else would. Maybe a teacher, maybe another student. Looking back, I realized that I was the bystander in that situation. I wasn't trying to be mean or avoid helping. I just thought someone else would do it. And I know I'm not the only one. I've had conversations with a lot of my friends who've experienced the same thing. The bystander effect is something that I've experienced since I was a kid, but I had never really noticed it until I took the time to reflect. Take a second to think about your own past. Were there times you could have stepped in to help someone who was being picked on but didn't? Not because you felt mean, just because you assumed someone else would. If so, then you've experienced the bystander effect as well. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just shows how powerful social influence can be. At last, the final concept we will cover in this video: conformity. Conformity is when individuals change their beliefs or behaviors to match a group, even if they don't fully agree. According to Ji and Terry, conformity is driven by a desire to fit in or avoid standing out, and it can influence everything, from fashion all the way to opinions. This is yet another phenomenon that likely everyone watching this has faced. For example, there have been times in group projects when everyone has agreed on a certain topic or point that I personally didn't agree with, but I went along just in order to avoid ruining the group dynamic. This isn't something that is strictly experienced in person or face to face either. It can be experienced both in person and online. It's a part of human nature to want to fit in. Humans are tribalistic animals. Conformity is something that most, if not all, adolescents have experienced at some point. For instance, in a 2024 study by the IU International University of Applied Scientists, researchers found that teens are heavily influenced by social media. The study showed that adolescents often adjust their behaviors and self-image to fit what they see online, like participating in a new trend on TikTok or agreeing with popular viewpoints, even if they know that it's not something that they truly, personally agree with. Take a second to think about it. How many times have you or one of your friends participated in a trend or dressed a certain way to better fit in into the general online trends that are going on? This shows that conformity doesn't only occur in real life, it also exists in online environments. Online environments can also force an individual to conform.
Throughout this video, you've been shown more about what cognitive dissonance truly is and the fact that it's the mental discomfort that someone faces when they have two conflicting beliefs or attitudes around a certain idea. There are many examples of this, such as the desire to be fit but not changing your eating habits, or smoking when you know that it's going to kill you. On another note, we've also discussed more about the bystander effect, which we described as the concept of when there are a greater number of people present, others are less likely to go to the police or get help in a moment of distress. A famous example of this would be the Philadelphia case, when a woman who got sexually assaulted on a train with people present that witnessed the situation feared to speak or intervene during the entire thing. We can connect the cognitive dissonance to the bystander effect because these bystanders would usually speak up or say something during emergency situations, but they had conflicting beliefs of what to do in that situation or if their safety would be at risk too. Additionally, we also discussed the concept of conformity, which is when people change their behavior to match those around them. Usually people do this around those who they aren't as familiar with. A great example of this would be just during professional settings, when you have to talk with experts, or even in classroom settings, when the teacher asks a question, but since everyone in class stays quiet, you attempt to blend in as well. To sum it up, these are 3 of the social psychology concepts we've chosen to discuss from our class, but there's plenty of more interesting units we could have covered. Thank you so much for listening to our video. We hope you enjoyed it.